Come on, let's be positive. Just stop right there. No negativity. Let's be positive. LBP, let's be positive.
Okay, Matt, let's be positive, mate. We got lots to be positive about, as we always do. The first thing is, how do we be positive about the pitch invaders in Napier? What do we do?
Well, I've got a couple of ideas, Marty, but first and foremost, between the two games that have been away from Penrose Park, 24 people have run onto a Warriors game this year. Now, it screams to me that these people have got nothing better to do in their life and they're just saying, what about me? Don't forget about me today.
Yeah.
You know, what's the point of it anymore? Why are they doing it? Now, my first suggestion, you suggested to me maybe time to the fence and let people tip beer on them, which would be a total waste of beer.
Well, it would be.
You know, so I don't know if I can totally go with that. And the other thing is, I read a comment from someone reading some of the coverage of this. They ran out of beer there before the main game anyway, so that wouldn't have worked.
Right, okay.
But how about this, Marty? It is a workplace, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's not just a game of football. It's not just some entertainment for you and your mates. It's a bit more serious than that. So how about we organise some work invaders to run through the workplaces of these people and see how that goes down, just as a bit of repayment? Or maybe make them run nude through their own workplace during the week. Because you will know that a 3-month jail term or a $5,000 fine is just a ridiculous thing to put next to running onto the pitch. Because first and foremost, the last thing we need is idiots like this in jail. We've got enough problems in that system as it is. We know they're not going to take them to court and lock them up. So that's not even a deterrent. The $5,000, well, I'd probably say, why don't we put an ankle bracelet on these guys and let them walk around in that for a while? Because I don't see how you can stop idiocy, but what's the point? You know, nobody's there to see them run onto the field.
No. I mean, look,
it's been done before.
There was an element of kind of like ha, titter when it was a nude streaker, okay? I mean, but these aren't nude streakers. These are people, this is a completely different department. These are people who are trying to get themselves famous on TikTok. And you could see with the pictures that one encouraged the other. And I'm sure there was some coordination behind this activity. So it's just a whole lot of dickheads. It's a whole lot of losers who actually think that somehow getting a few likes on a social media platform like TikTok or Instagram, whatever it is, that their lives are better and more complete for this. So I'm with you. I think, why don't we give you all the publicity you want? Trousers down, here's the photo, let's put it across they need to be embarrassed and shamed is what they need. So that, because there's no deterrent, as you say, in running through the courts and clogging that up. As far as the $5,000 fine goes, I mean, I don't want to be disparaging, but I'm looking at a lot of those people and I wonder whether they're actually in a position to ever pay that fine. I don't know whether their benefits would cover it or their low-paying jobs would cover it, right? So, you know, unless, of course, you go to them and say, we're taking $500 from your taxes every single week now and you can live like a pauper. But that just seems so vindictive, doesn't it? And also, the other thing that they want is publicity. They're craving this because their lives are just so meaningless otherwise. Let's give them some publicity. Or my plan was just to tie them to the fence and let people throw beer on them. But of course, people will say you're bullying and you're violent and all of that kind of stuff. Matt, the problem is we don't lock up those committing violent crimes like ram raids. How the hell can you lock up somebody who's run onto a football pitch?
Well, that's exactly right. That's why it's just a worthless piece of legislation. I mean, I suppose it came in because they needed to do something or say that there was some kind of deterrent. But when you're honest about it, it's not going to happen. So it doesn't exist. It's just a silly idea. And I agree with you about the money. You know, some of these guys might end up with a free lawyer and they go to court and they've got to pay $6 a week for the next 25 years. And again, it's a waste of time. But, yeah, I would publish the list of names and I'd ankle bracelet them and I'd make them have to come off work, you know, once a week to go and check in with a parole officer or something like that. But, again, that is, you know, impinging on other people's time where there are more serious things to be dealt with.
And
so,
this is a PEP scheme. Like, you remember the old days that they used to have, like you used to be sentenced to PD, which is on a Saturday. You have to go with a shovel in your hand, and especially a Napier, and start digging the silt out. Maybe that's the punishment for them, actually some physical labour like that. Because to do something good for the community because they've disrupted the community, let's not talk about them anymore. Your Highlanders being positive, what a win that was against the Reds, Aaron Smith's last game. You've only now got to win away at the Blues, and you're in the playoffs. Let's be positive.
And we deserve to be in the playoffs, but, just getting up over the Reds like that, I do wonder how far through the playoffs we're going to go. But the season didn't look like we were going to be able to deliver anything at all, to be fair. So many injuries at the start, it just didn't look good at all. So I suppose you got to take the positives. And the Smith last game, great to get the win. Great to be in a position at the end of the season that things could look better. And you never know, do you, in this game? Because there have been a couple of upsets. You just never know. There's a chance that we could win in week one of the playoffs and go a little bit further, which would be tremendous for the Highlanders. And after the game the other week when I was down in Mosgiel and no one could even catch or pass properly, it's a pretty good position for them to be in. And I hope that they do something because, let's be honest, rugby in the South needs a boost. We've only, other than the Highlanders, we've only got the Crusaders down here. Oh, hang on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and they're probably going to win it. Yeah, Reds away the Endura, by the way. That's the game that you've got to keep an eye on as well this weekend. As far as our Warriors go, because your Doggies didn't play, Warriors still maintain a top 8 spot. But there is a definitive gap, isn't there, between the Warriors and these teams. You watch the Broncos, you watch the Panthers, you watch that Roosters game, you watch the Storm game. You can get close, but close isn't good enough in this competition. I still believe that we're maybe 2 or 3 squad members or a full squad of players away, or just to get that consistency to win those kind of games.
Yeah, they definitely need a good run. And if they can get momentum heading into the final part of the season, I mean, they're capable of pulling off an upset, I think, which it would be. They'll probably end up in the bottom 4 of the top 8. At the moment, honestly, they don't look like they could win a premiership. They don't look like they could beat those top sides, certainly not consistently. But I was thinking about it as I'm driving to Timaru at the moment, and I was just thinking a minute ago that given the last few seasons, this team feels like one that has started something that will go forward and that will continue.
Yeah, good call.
So even if it isn't this year, and you've got to remember, Martin, that they were in the game against the Broncos. So they actually are pretty capable of pulling off big wins. But they're not, I suppose, is the point. But, if they can maintain most of the crew that they've got and make a couple of good buys and make some improvements, this does feel like a very, very positive season for the Warriors looking at the next couple. And I suppose when you're rebuilding and you're trying to come back from nowhere, there's not a club in the NRL that wouldn't say that the Warriors have made massive strides this year, and there wouldn't be another club like the Bulldogs at the bottom of the table that wouldn't want to be in a similar position. So being positive, I think it is actually positive without trying too hard.
All right, finally, let's be positive about the Premier League. Liechtenstein, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Chechnya, these places you'll be visiting next year in the Europa League.
Well, they're lovely, beautiful countries, Martin, with warm, welcoming people. So can we win over there? Well, I don't know how much better that'll make us feel. It certainly won't make us feel as good as the crew in Luton, will it? Because that is the story that I've been reading about over the last couple of days, the build-up to it, and now the eventual outcome, which means here's a club with a pretty lowly paid squad, which will now be looking at potentially £180+ million over the next 3 seasons if they're able to maintain. The NRL's got a salary cap of $12 million a club. And you win and you go up and you're in the money. And that's not even mentioning sponsorship. So let's forget about Liverpool. We'll be there we'll be there forever. But the turnaround for Luton, the phenomenal amount of money that's available is mind-blowing, isn't it? It's hard to get a grasp on.